Well, I'll go. No one wants to jump in. I'll throw my hat in the ring. I have a statement that I'd like to read. Um, take these glasses off. I'd rather read it than just speak from the heart. It's something I wrote up. I wanted to begin by emphasizing that I've reviewed this agenda item not through an emotional lens, but with a deep and deliberate focus on the facts guided by our municipal code, the general plan, the downtown Brentwood specific plan, and the relevant state law. My role as your vice mayor demands this level of diligence, and I do not take that responsibility lightly. When an item is called after a planning vote comes out, it comes to us de novo. This means that we must give it a total new consideration as if the Planning Commission never looked at it. This is the same procedure that we have consistently done as a council when other council members have pulled items. This is our policy for which you have asked us to follow tonight. It is truly unfortunate that when we face highly contentious items, we sometimes see people take the stage to make baseless accusations, often rooted not in facts, but in assumptions about how they perceive a council member may or may not vote. These assumptions do not do a disservice to the democratic process and undermine the thoughtful work that goes into every decision that we make. It's sad to sit here and see us divided, veterans on one side, fire on the other side, like a bad wedding where we don't want to see the couple get married. I also want to take a moment to address something that affects not just this body, but elected and appointed officials at every level, the manner in which we engage one another. It is critical that we remember we can state our positions, raise our concerns, and represent our constituents without engaging in personal attacks. Integrity in public discourse must be our standard. In that spirit, tonight I'm only discussing, during my discussion time, not taking a moment to posture or politicize, but to walk through all the items with the same care and analysis that I would brief in a legal case as an attorney. The people of Brentwood deserve decisions based on substance, not speculation. And they deserve leadership that models respect, transparency, and professionalism. I didn't hear a lot of thanks tonight, but I want to start off by thanking both the veterans for their service and the first responders for the countless lives that they have saved. I want to thank my colleagues up here for the critical time you took to review all the details. I know each and every one of you took a lot of time. This is a huge one that's come before us. And part of where I'm going to go with my discussion points tonight is to bring up what we were asked to analyze. So first, I'm going to start with, that's the moment, right? Time to do it. So, all right. I want to start off with the CEQA analysis. And I looked at CEQA tonight because everyone keeps bringing up that Councilmember Orleman's brought up we must follow the law, as we absolutely should follow the law, right? So the first thing I want to do is bring up CEQA. Under CEQA, even when a project qualifies for a category exemption, there are exceptions that can nullify the exemption if certain conditions apply. The key exception at issue is the unusual circumstances exception in CEQA under guideline 15300.2C. The rule states that a categorical exemption shall not be used for an activity whereas there is a reasonable possibility that the activity will have a significant effect on the environment due to unusual circumstances. So when I began to review this, I had to look and see what are the potential unusual circumstances. In other words, if a project situation is unusual compared to the typical exemption project and could use significant environmental impacts, then a full CEQA review is required despite the categorical exemptions. I looked at case law. California Supreme Court in Berkeley Hills Preservation versus the City of Berkeley 2015 case clarified the two-part test for this exception. First, it determined whether unusual circumstances are present, i.e., whether the project has some future or is it in a setting out of the ordinary for a class of projects. If so, it determined whether those unusual circumstances create a reasonable possibility of a significant environmental effect. Importantly, the mere possibility of a significant impact is not enough by itself to invalidate an exemption. The potential impact must be due to unusual circumstances. The burden is on the challenger to show both elements if no unusual circumstances are found. So here, in this current case that's before us, what are the potential unusual circumstances for Station 94? Opponents of the downtown station have pointed to changes in conditions since the old station closed in 2012, arguing that these create an unusual situation that merits CEQA review. The factors included are increased population and activity in downtown, proximity to Liberty High School, and downtown events and limited parking. When I reviewed all of these items, one, the increased population and activity to downtown Brentwood, here were my findings. Give me a moment, because I have about 11 pages of type notes. Where are my conclusions? Sorry, I'm looking for my notes.
Take your time.
Thank you. Thank you both. Brentwood's population has grown significantly in the past decade. The downtown core is denser with business and pedestrians than when Station 54 operated. Critics suggest that we reintroduce a fire station in a now busier downtown may cause impact traffic noise and not previously analyzed. Fire apparatus will enter and exit onto city streets per Contra, but this is managed with emergency lights, sirens, and train drivers. The officials have stated that the downtown responses will be handled with smaller maneuverable engines, and they've even demonstrated that in videos, and that the drivers are specially trained for busy areas. They do not anticipate problems navigating farmers market closures or school traffic, of which I really hope this to be very true. The station's driveway will presumably be designated for safe ingress and egress per their reports. And while Liberty High School's vicinity means engines must exercise caution, emergency vehicles routinely operate near schools all across the United States of America. There is no indication that the project creates a unique traffic hazard beyond normal fire station operations. Any temporary traffic control during big events can be coordinated to ensure engines are not boxed in. These are manageable issues rather than significant environmental impacts. The noise, the most notable noise would be the sirens that we heard tonight, and possibly an alert horn when trucks leave the station. Sirens are intermittent and short to duration. We have more noise when we have concerts in the park. CEQA typically considers whether a project causes sustained or chronic noise levels. Here, occasional siren noise in downtown, which already has traffic noise, is unlikely to exceed significant thresholds for noise impact. School classes might hear the sirens, but this is common urban occurrence. It is not an environmental health risk. Air quality. The project involves minimal new air emissions. One fire engine's trip and a small diesel generator are negligible in the context of downtown traffic. I am concerned about the generator, of which I hope our council can talk more in detail about. However, no industrial use or significant stationary emission sources included, and public surfaces. Ironically, the project improves public safety rather than straining them. Someone brought up common sense. To me, it makes more common sense to have safety providers near a school that has 2,770 students versus further away from it. There is no unusual burden on utilities or police or fire. It is a fire facility meant to enhance emergency response. Given my analysis, it appears these circumstances, busier downtown, nearby school events, are not so exceptional as to fall outside the normal exceptions of a downtown infill fire station. They were considered by the fire district and the city and mitigated through design and planning. Critically, no substantial evidence has been presented that these factors will cause a significant environmental effect that will warrant a CEQA evaluation. A full CEQA review does not appear warranted unless evidence of a likely significant impact emerges. Under CEQA Guideline 15300.2C, the burden is on the opponents to show an unusual circumstance leading to significant effects. I looked at what would trigger a traffic study. So again, everyone wants us to review our regulations and our laws. This is not a motion. This is not based on anyone feeding information. This is me as an attorney sitting here analyzing. A traffic study in the city of Brentwood is triggered under Contra Costa County Measure J, approved by the voters, now adopted in our general plan, chapter 5.1, when it generates more than 100 net new peak hour trips. That is not the case that has been presented. There's not been, it's argumentably that we would even get to 10 trips per day. So I want to go over to the part that I want to talk about design, but before we get to that, one of the things keeps coming up is legality. And we're not supposed to even talk about the legality, but it keeps coming up. And I feel like I do believe the county did fail the veterans in not giving the veterans an adequate legal analysis. And I can't see you guys. All of you are fuzzy as hell unless I put these damn glasses on. But then I can't read with the glasses on, so I'm going to take them on and off. But I want to see how clear your faces are. Hey, Roger, and big ups to Roger. Thank you so much. I would like our captain or our chief to deputize Roger for all of his hard work that he does for the community. I would like for him to be able to run over all those damn real estate signs that get in the way with his wheelchair. But I say that to, let me go back to the Veterans Hall because this one is near and dear to me. Today, I sat in a funeral home picking out a casket and flowers for my Aunt Betty next to my uncle who served in the Navy during the Vietnam War, and I watched him ask, do I get discounts for my wife as a veteran? Because we rarely get any services. And they looked at him in the face without any emotion and said no. And it broke my heart that he didn't get any support for all the service that he provided. I've watched as my dad cried as we buried his dad, both of them veterans. And so I've been receiving these emails that I'm anti-veteran when every single time I walk in my parents' house, I see two flags. One from my grandmother who worked for the Army, one for my grandfather who worked in the Army, who died in a box. But I'm anti-veteran if you think I vote a certain kind of way, or I'm a sellout if I tell my opinions, or I legally analyze everything if it's not consistent with other people. But so it means so much to me to talk about that Veterans Hall. Because I've been in there for memorials, I've been in there for parties, I've been in there for community meetings. And I think if the county ever considers removal of that Veterans Hall, I think each and every one of us need to go to Martinez and demand answers, because that would be detrimental to our veterans who fought so hard for the freedom for me to sit here tonight, for me to talk to you. But when I looked at the Veterans Hall, the main question they kept asking was there a violation of military and veterans code? So I looked at it. I'm not your city attorney, and it is not our city attorney's job to even brief that. This is a design review. It was not Councilmember Orleman's job. It wasn't the Planning Commission's job to review it. It was the county's job to get back and talk to you. And I want to give a shout out to Councilmember Orleman's, as he's been demonized up here. Councilmember Orleman's 2 years ago came to me and said, I'm trying to organize a meeting with the county and the veterans. I would like it to happen. He worked his butt off. And that meeting did not happen despite all the work he did. He did exactly what so many people said should have happened. But here's what I looked at. The county's legal obligation under California law, Military and Veterans Code 1262, it says any county may, I want to say may, has a very big meaning to us legal beagles. Provide and maintain buildings, memorial halls, meeting places, memorial parks, or recreation centers for the use or benefit of one or more veteran associate, veteran service organization, or nonprofit veteran service agencies. Then E says they may, M-A-Y, levy a special tax. In Contra Costa County's case, a special tax was established in 1922 under the former Code 4041F, now Military and Veterans Code 1262. Specifically for the purpose of building memorial halls for the use of American Legion's post and ex-servicemen. Using those funds, the county purchased the 757 First Street property in 1923 and built Brentwood's Veteran Memorial Hall. However, this did not transfer ownership to the veterans. The county retains ownership as long as it fulfills the purpose of providing a hall for veterans. State law requires that the county to make a facility available to veterans, but it does not grant veterans a property right to control the land or building. The county can take an action authorized by law with respect to the property so long as veterans still have a hall available. In this case, the county is not removing or reducing the veterans building at all, so there is no violation of the law or the original dedication purpose. I'll go back to the word may. May is permissive. It's discretionary. Must would be the word that would be mandatory or required. So for me sitting here when everyone says, are you going to uphold your law? Are you going to uphold the Constitution? Are you going to follow the law? The law does not say must in this case, it says may. Now, the next thing, and thank you for allowing me to take my time, Liberty High School comes up. Liberty High School, roughly located a block to the north, does have potential, it has potential impacts on the school, are mostly about traffic and noise, which we talked about. Drop-off times that were brought up before are only at certain times, not all day. A fire engine exiting Station 94 during those peak times will need to do so cautiously. However, emergency vehicles have the right of way and can activate light sirens to clear a path if needed. The fire district can also coordinate with the city's traffic engineer to ensure signaling time or routes that minimize passing directly through school congestion. I want to talk about the schools because I asked our interim city manager, like, what has been the increase? Because everyone says we have so much more students there. It's such a safety concern. Well, in 2013, which was the year after the fire station closed, we had 2,356 students. As of 2024, we have 2,773 students, only 417 more. Noise at the school. Sirens near the school are not unprecedented. Many schools are on or nearby busy roads. I checked into it. There's fire stations in our district, right in Walnut Creek, in Concord, that are right next to schools. It might momentarily disrupt a class or outdoor activity, just like a school bell would. But it is very transient. This is generally not considered a significant environmental impact. Now let's talk about downtown events, and I hope you all go to the Juneteenth event. We got staff here who have done an amazing job. Thank you for your service. A concern was whether Station 94 would interfere with or be hindering by such events. I feel like ConFire addressed this directly. They have stated that their fire response from Station 94 will not interfere with outdoor special events, parades, and farmers markets. I hope that they're not being dishonest. These are so important to the fabric of who we are as a city. And I want to thank Lynn Tay for her report out, giving us a report from the Downtown Brentwood Coalition. Other downtown stations, like those near the Concord Total Santos Plaza area, handle emergency situation during events routinely, and it is not a problem. The city can incorporate procedures so that, which we need to do for safety in the first place, that event planners coordinate with the fire department like they do with the police department. Also, building the station on the site actually helps events in one way. It avoids us using some other downtown parcel that might dissipate an event location. Next issue. It was a lot to receive a bunch, about 300, 400 emails from people from like Los Angeles. I didn't know the use of that. It was kind of annoying, I'll tell you the truth, but American citizens get the right to talk to us. But I want to talk about our neighbors. Brentwood's coverage lags behind neighboring communities. After our station closed in downtown Brentwood when the population was 65,000, we only have one station in the entire city. We compare that with Oakley, that has 45,000 residents, has 2 stations. Antioch, that has 117, has 4 stations. Even semi-rural Discovery Bay has 15,000 people and has 1 station. Our disparity shows that Brentwood has been underserved in fire and EMS protection. One station cannot adequately cover 15 square miles and tens of thousands of residents. The result has been that Brentwood has had to rely on backup distance stations, leaving periods where the city effectively had no local unit available. I have to say, as someone whose husband had a heart attack, this is a no-brainer to me. This is a no-brainer. So I asked, I am going to ask one question if someone can come up. What would the average response time drop by with additional location at Brentwood? And I think I got my answer today. I'd like to know what that would drop by. But my conclusion and my wrap up, because I don't want to take too much of y'all's time tonight. Here's my conclusion that I've written up. So after doing my analysis, it appears unlikely that a full CEQA review, EIR, or similar is required for the downtown Brentwood Fire Station project. Given the project's qualifying conditions for a Class 32 infill exemption and the lack of any demonstrated unusual circumstances leading to significant environmental effects, the increased downtown population, nearby high school, and community events were raised as concern, but these factors are part of the normal urban context and can be managed through design and operation. City staff and fire officials have provided, in my opinion, substantial evidence that the project will not have significant impacts in areas like the one down here concerning traffic, noise, air quality, or public services. Similar fire stations operate in comparable cities. Therefore, the categorical exemption under CEQA guideline 15332 is properly applied. And none of the exceptions, including the unusual exception, circumstances exception, seem to be triggered in this case. Now, legally approving the design review for the fire station does not violate any veteran-related laws or commitments. The Veteran Memorial Hall will continue to function as before on its county-owned site with protections, hopefully an easement for its ramp, and investments like storage. I hate that they would have to move to go. It's inconvenient for them to go to do storage. You're talking about people who have disabilities to have to go somewhere besides where they're at for their storage is, in my opinion, a little ridiculous. And I would hope that the county will make some concessions to put a storage there. ADA parking upgrades. This should have already happened. Ensuring that veteran groups are not harmed. Military and veteran codes require the county to maintain a veterans hall, which it is doing, but it can do it better. The veterans have no ownership claim to the fire station parcel, and the project avoids any encroachment on the hall building itself. In fact, the collaborative approach taken preserving the hall, honoring its historical intent, and enhancing the facility means there are no legal impediments to the city moving forward with the fire station on the adjoining lot. These are my final few comments. In terms of community impact, I believe the station is supposed to bring significant public safety benefits, which is the platform that I ran on. And I want to remind you, I was accused of receiving funds from a lot of people who are here tonight. I did not. I ran on about, what, $2,500, if not a slight less. Probably, I ran the lowest funded campaign up here. The lowest funded campaign, and I did not receive anything from anybody that I think in this room. You can go fact check me, but I didn't receive it, but I was accused of it. And I was accused because I work for the Assemblywoman, that because I work for her, that I'm a little puppet. That's an insult for a woman who worked diligently for several years to be the attorney, to sit on the bench and make decisions that affected your families. It's an insult to me that anyone can think that this strong Black woman can be puppeted by anyone. I'll absolutely tell you, our Assemblywoman could not puppet me. Our county Diane Burgess cannot puppet me. Our veterans cannot puppet me. Our fire and none of my colleagues can puppet me. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm proud of how strong I am and the decisions that I make all on my own. But I believe, based on my platform that I ran on public safety, this brings a significant public safety benefit. Emergency response data, because someone asked for data, shows that Brentwood's downtown and east side urgently need shorter response times and additional resources. The new station directly addresses that need, potentially saving lives. I am so grateful for the lives that showed up in this room tonight. And hopefully more will be saved after today. And property by cutting response times by minute. While any development has some impacts, the analysis indicates that those from this station, noise, traffic, et cetera, will be minor and acceptable in exchange for life, in exchange for life, in exchange for the very people you fought for life. The gain is life. The project has been designed to be compatible with its surroundings. However, I do think the look is ugly. So I'd like us to talk about the look. I don't like the bricks. I'd like us to break it up. I'd like us to talk about those things. The design review, back to that. The site zoning permits fire stations by right, AKA without a need for a CUP. The Planning Commission's concerns were, one, it does not fit the DSP guidelines, not subject to retail and is permitted. Project impact to adjacent properties, the architectural style and mass appropriate for the area. The architectural style is American Main Street, consistent with early 20th century commercial style permitted by our downtown specific plan. The tree to me is not a major issue. What's more major is the fact that they're losing their storage right there where it's accessible. That's more major to me, and I think that's something we should talk about. The height and the step backs meet the DSP and the development regulations. But my main thing is that we do need to change the color of the brick or break it up with another material. And the main thing that I would like us to talk about in discussion after you all have your talks is, where do we move the generator? I know that the generator was within the 65, I think, foot setback, but I'd like to see it in another place. And I'd hope that the applicant would be willing to consider those changes that I've presented tonight. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, so sorry, you guys.